Wonka is directed by Paul King, the same man who brought us both Paddington films, and stars Timothy Chalamet as a young Willy Wonka looking to open up his own chocolate shop at the Gallery Gourmet. Before I get into all that, make sure to stay tuned for the end of the review as I have two special announcements. What is there to say about my history with Willy Wonka that cannot be said for every single other person who has seen both films? The original is a classic. Gene Wilder's performance is one of the best comedic performances I've ever seen, and in my opinion, it still remains to this day as one of the best movie musicals ever made. The Tim Burton remake is there. I mean, to be fair, there is a lot of good set design and some good creative imagination to it, but overall, it really doesn't hold a candle to the original, and that's really its biggest downfall. And despite all of the less than stellar trailers that followed this film, I was actually really looking forward to this movie because I love Willy Wonka so much, and I really do think Paul King was one of the best directors they could have chosen to head this project. The tone, the cinematography, the performances, the choreography, the editing, all of it is just so wonderfully unique and quirky, and all of that wonderful uniqueness that he had in the first two Paddington films is brought to this film, and that's really one of the biggest strengths of Wonka. You would have to be one cynical bastard to not get caught up in even just the slightest bit of imagination this film has to offer. Now let's talk about the one thing I was really nervous about going into this movie, and that's Timothy Chalamet as Willy Wonka. Now, before all of the trailers, I was really looking forward to this casting because I really do think Timothy Chalamet is that fantastic of an actor. But I would be lying if I said that I wasn't slightly nervous because I hold Gene Wilder's performance in such high regard, and Johnny Depp's performance in a regard. But while I don't think Timothy Chalamet gives a brilliant performance, and I don't think he is nearly as good as Gene Wilder, I mean, few people can be, but I really do think Timothy Chalamet is pretty good in this movie. He definitely brings a lot of wide-eyed naivete to his performance that really makes the comparison between his performance and Gene Wilder's performance very interesting. You can easily believe that these two performances are of the same character, just at different points in his life, and even with that said, Chalamet brings his own unique flavor to the role that doesn't just make it a ripoff of Wilder or even a ripoff of Depp. He brings the character down to his own fun level. The movie is also pretty funny. I will admit there are no laugh out loud hysterical moments that I can recall, but overall, when your movie is stacked full of comedic talent like Matt Lucas, Rowan Atkinson, Keegan-Michael Key, it's hard not to get even a couple chuckles in there. That said, let's get into some of the weaker aspects of the movie, starting with the songs. The songs in this movie are not bad necessarily, they're just really not memorable. You can tell they're just trying to capture that sense of wonderment from the original Willy Wonka, and even though the songs aren't the worst, you're constantly comparing them to that original. And as I've said before, the original Willy Wonka is one of the best movie musicals ever made. So when you're constantly comparing this film to that music, it's sort of the cinematic equivalent of shooting yourself in the foot. And even when you're not comparing the songs to the original, they are so blatantly auto-tuned that there are times where it's actually distracting. Now, let's talk about the effects. The effects in this movie are horrendous. Sometimes they're bad but slightly passable, like with a lot of the animal effects, but then we get to Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. This is the biggest piece of unintentional nightmare fuel I have seen in a movie in a while. He is so entrenched by the uncanny valley in this movie that every single time this character is on screen, I absolutely despised it. You just can't get over it. It's such a bad effect. But with all that said, nothing bad in this movie is so horrifically bad that it feels insulting, and even with that said, all the good things in the movie are so strong, they're actually pretty great. It's a solid family film. Completely harmless, completely enjoyable in the moment, and then you go home. I'm gonna give Wonka a B minus. Okay, two big announcements. One, my poll is still open in the community tab asking you guys which you would like to hear about come the new year. My favorite movies and your favorite movies, or my most underappreciated movies and your most underappreciated movies. This isn't just going to be me talking about the movies I want to talk about, this is going to be you guys telling me what movies you want to talk about. So make sure to go vote in that poll in the community tab. Also, my second big announcement, over the course of this past semester, along with so many of my friends, family, and coworkers, we have made a short film that we are going to be releasing in theaters. We were able to make a special teaser for this film, so enjoy.
Andrew, you good, man?
I'm at the store right now. I just forgot something on the list.
Calm down. What do you need?
I've got the blue berries in my hand. Which are we mixing it with?
Remember, always lemons, never limes, man.
We'll be releasing the film on the 22nd in my local theater, and then sometime between then and New Year's Day, we'll be releasing a final cut of the film on YouTube. We have worked so hard on it, we are so proud of it, and I cannot wait for you guys to see it. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.